In this video, Alex, the influencer marketing manager of Perspective, is going to walk us through the step-by-step process of designing a SaaS influencer marketing campaign from scratch. In fact, Alex actually started Perspective's influencer program from nothing, and today it drives over 15% of Perspective's total revenue. And to make this video super tangible, I actually created a hypothetical cold email software company so that Alex can actually show us exactly how he'd build the campaign each step of the way. And we even put together a bundle of all of Alex's resources, including cold email templates, sample creator briefs, and customer research templates. So you can access all of those resources in the link in the description of this video. The first step is customer research. And Alex is trying to figure out who the highest value customers are, as well as the key differentiators of the product.
First, understanding who is our ICP, right? Who are we talking to? Who do we want to buy our product? And in this case, it's a cold email tool. So it's most likely people do outbound either for themselves or their customers. So these are agency owners or business owners, right? That they need outbound to generate leads for them, right? So that already gives an idea of okay, we are trying to talk to these people. So the next step, what I would do is try to uncover pain points, from what are the pain points that these people are having. So I mean, nowadays you can easily go to AI, Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, and be like, hey, this is my ICP. Really define it and be like, can you give me 15 or 20 pain points that these people can face? But ideally, also you should have internally, if you have a product marketing manager or something like that, someone that knows the product very much inside out, or even salespeople, just ask them hey, what are the 3, 4, 5 most common questions that you get when you talk with customers, or even your support team, they probably know, so that's where you will probably uncover some really interesting insights. And the cool thing, and for example, us as Perspective, we have a sales team. And the cool thing is that they have all these meetings with our customers, and they also transcribe the meetings, So there's all of this material of how your ICP actually talks, explains the problems that they have, So I would definitely start there, try to uncover common trends on these pain points.
Okay, so your action item is to first identify your ICP and the specific pain points they face that your product actually solves. And you can do this by first asking AI for ideas, secondly, talking to your customer, product, and sales teams, or using AI to transcribe your sales calls and extract common pain points and common trends. Now the next step is campaign ideation. And Alex likes to build his campaigns around one of those ideas from customer research.
And once we have one, and for example, for cold email people, it could be my open rates are super low, or I don't get replies. And this can be because email infrastructure, this can be because the emails are not good. This can be for many different reasons, because the emails are not personalized, something like that, So I would just pick one of these angles and try to build a campaign from that, for example, in this case, maybe we could go with something my replies are basically 0, and it's because I'm not personalizing my emails, for my ICP. So I think that could be a very interesting starting point, for example.
Okay, so now we know that we want to create a campaign idea around the pain point of increasing email response rates. But what should the campaign structure itself actually look like? Well, you have a few different options. First, if your goal is conversions, a simple starting place is asking a handful of niche creators to post their results from actually using the tool. But as you start partnering with bigger creators, you could also do something like a creator-led webinar.
And webinars, creator-led webinars, are super interesting, and I think they are also underrated and unexploited, because even if people think webinars are a thing from the past, and I can tell you that they really work. And for example, for us today at Perspective, we run a weekly webinar that's live.
So in this example with Coldcraft, we might reach out to a few cold email creators and ask them to host a webinar illustrating how to set up a cold email campaign to drive agency clients using Coldcraft. And ideally, they could also back up the process with a real case study. So this is a rough campaign concept that now makes it a lot easier for us to select the right creators, because now we know that we want to talk to an expert who can actually speak about the pain point authoritatively. So how should we find and select the right influencers? Well, Alex actually likes to start by looking at influencers who are already customers, and then he just offers them a creator partnership.
one of the first things that I like to do, and in this case in perspective, we built our program from scratch, so there was nothing around creators, around partners in the international market. So one of the first things that we did was like, okay, before going outside, let's try to find inside for people who might have an audience, might talk about these topics already, and that they are users, because those are like way more easy to like convince to work with you at the beginning, obviously. And also you don't need to brief them basically, because they know the product, they have use cases, they have case studies, and especially in our case, our tool is like very much B2B, so it's very much based on results. We are a funnel tool, so we help people, get better conversion with the landing page and all of that, So if we can take someone that has a real use case, that's like, in my previous tool, I got like 5% conversion rates. With perspective, I have 25%. That's like a crazy video that you have already there, like, and it's a really good testimonial, it's a really good case study, So I would say that's a really good starting point, just like even send an email to like your customer base and be like, hey, we are looking for people to talk about their experience with the product, if you have like an audience, something like that, if you're interested, like just reply, something like that. Even can go like a way longer, it can help you get started for sure.
In fact, if you already have like an affiliate program, Alex mentioned that you can even just reach out to your top performing affiliates and then offer them an influencer deal. Another option is to look at creators who are already promoting parallel brands. So for example, as a cold outreach personalization tool, we might look at creators who are promoting data enrichment tools like maybe Clay. And you can actually use Favikon's brand radar feature to look up all the creators who are talking about Clay. Alex also stressed that if you're just starting out, it's best to start with niche ICP match creators to ensure that you have enough budget to spread it across multiple different creators. If you put all of your budget into one or two creators and then the campaign flops, you won't have that much data to really understand what didn't work and why. So now that I have a few creators in mind, it's time to write an outreach message to them. If you're reaching out to existing customers, here's a sample email from Alex. It could be something like, "Hi name, we're looking to partner with Coldcraft users to share how it helps boost cold email responses. As you already know the product, your real results and workflows make for the best stories. If you create content, run a newsletter, or have any audience where talking about your Coldcraft experience makes sense, we'd love to explore a partnership. Just reply and let me know a little bit more about your audience. Thanks, Megan." However, if you're starting with cold outreach to people who don't know you, here's Alex's approach.
I do like a lot of email outreach to creators, right? To just pitch them to work with us or whatever. And I usually have like a sequence that's like around 4 to 5 emails, so I don't do more. I heard of people doing like 8 or 9 emails and I think that's fair, because sometimes creators just like, it gets buried on their inbox, right? It's just like you need to follow up like many times. I think what helps with open rates, and in our case it varies between 30 to 40%, which I think is pretty good for like cold email, is like putting on the headline first the name of the creator, so like, hey Alex, and then putting the word paid also the subject line, so I think it's something like Alex quick paid campaign, or like quick paid campaign idea or something like that, right? I mean, it is what it is, but money always draws attention, so that already gets them to open, and then the second thing that we do, at least on the first email, I know some brands, when they send like an outreach campaign, the first email they already explain everything, like they explain the context of the campaign, they explain, they put together like a huge email. And if you were to receive that email, you're probably like, I'm not gonna read that. So in my case, it's just like 3 lines, like, hey, I'm Alex from Perspective. It's a tool that does XYZ. We will be interested in working like on a pay campaign for you. Are you open to chat? And that's it. That's basically like my opening email. It's like 4 lines, but you can read it like 10 seconds. So because what you want is not to explain the thing that you want to do, is to get a reply. So you just need to get like a reply, and then if they reply with interest, with like, hey, I'm interested, tell me more, that's when you send like the big long email with everything explaining. Or maybe you push them to a call. Also depends on like how you prefer to work with creators, how you prefer to close. And then if they don't reply, the 3-4 emails that will go behind are just like follow-up emails. Like sometimes I add some data like, hey, by the way, creators that have worked with us have earned X amount of money via affiliate commissions, just for your information or something like that. or we will make it super easy for you to create the content. We have like these briefs and everything, so you just need like it wouldn't take you too much to so I just like on the follow-up emails, just like trying to convince them like why this is like a good choice for them, like how you're going to make it easy for them to work with you as well. And then the last email, I think it's something like, hey, totally fine if you don't have time, this is the last time I reply. So I think it's also good to give like a warning, like, hey, if you don't reply to this, I understand you're not interested in like doing a paid campaign, so you put the keyword there again.
Once you have a few responses, the next step is negotiation. How much should you actually pay an influencer? Well, here's how Alex approaches it.
As we said, it's like the Wild West, right? So you can reach out to 3 different creators. They have like 3 different sizes of audiences and engagement and so on, and they will give you 3 total different prices. So it's super difficult, and I think there is not a right or wrong answer. It really depends on like your business economics, at least that's how we look at it. For example, as us internally, we have a certain number that we know we can pay for sign up.
I'll also add that a lot of influencer marketers often create their own database of influencer prices. So as you work with influencers, be sure to save those prices.
Like we start from this number internally, like $100 per sign up. Okay, if we believe that this guy is going to bring us, at least 10 signups, then we know that we can pay him $1,000, for example. That would be like a rough math that you can make in there. And then from there, at least you have like, now you have like a baseline number that you can start with. And if when you are talking with him, he pitches like $5,000 per video, then you know that you are very far from him. So I think a lot of brands make the mistake of like, we just pay without knowing like our internal numbers, and I think it's very important for you to know like how much you can pay for sign up, how much you can pay, for customer, whatever metric that you are based on. Like in our case with creators, the main one is like cost per sign up. We try to base all of the numbers and pricing and all of that based on that, so when I talk with someone, I know more or less the number that we can pay. Obviously, I don't say that number first thing, I just wait for them to give them the budget, and then from there we just negotiate and try to find like a middle ground. One thing that I also do whenever we work with a creator, especially if they are like bigger ones, it will be asked like, have you done other sponsored posts? And if you have, what have been the results, and that's actually something that you can see with Favikon, right? So that's super helpful because you can see, okay, for other brands, when they do like sponsor posts, these are the results that we can expect. And especially if you can go to like brands that are very similar to your brand, then even better, that I can expect from working from this person. Obviously, every post can have a life of its own and can be totally different, but it already gives you again another data point more that you can put here to lower like the amount of uncertainty.
So if you already are running paid ads, look at what your current numbers are and then use that as a benchmark for your creator pricing. But what if you're doing a more involved campaign, like a webinar or something?
I mean, in this case, it's different, right? Because for a webinar, it obviously represents more work for them, like for the creator. So in this case, you should pay more than just like for a regular post, because it's not just a regular post. For that, I will have to see like how much like sign-ups we expect to get from the webinar, right? For example, if we expect that these guys are going to make 3 posts about it, and from each post we more or less want to get like 200 sign-ups from each post, like to our webinar, then more or less we know our numbers. They're like, okay, we expect 600 sign-ups. In this case, it would be leads, not product sign-ups. But still, like, okay, he's going to bring 600 people into the webinar, then more or less we can pay this amount, that's how we think about it. But for me, you always need like some sort of an internal number for reference, because otherwise you're just like guessing.
But how do you estimate about how many leads that one creator is going to bring in? Well, one option is to simply ask them for historical data.
Maybe in the past they have done a webinar for another brand, and they can tell you, okay, for this webinar we brought 500 people. Okay, so more or less you know what to expect for yours. Then from there you could try to price it.
Okay, so now that we've agreed on a price, it's time to send the campaign brief and the contract. So Alex's campaign briefs are really designed to give the creator content ideas, but not an exact script.
So our briefs are very simple, like we give context about the tool, we give some bullet points of like things that you can say about the tool, right? You can create a landing page in less than 10 minutes, or like loading speed is like this amount, like just data that they can use on the thing. We also put some examples of other creators in there. That's always super helpful for them to see what other successful campaigns look like. Like, sometimes we put like 3-4 YouTube videos or 3-4 LinkedIn posts. And then we also give them some angle ideas. And usually when I do that, I try to tailor those angle ideas to the creator specifically. But at the same time, we always keep the door open on like, hey, you can pick these ideas and run with them, or you can do whatever you want, But we never give like a script like line by line, like, hey, please say this. At the end of the day, if you work with that creator, it's because you trust on their way to do content, right? So I am always more on the side of like giving them freedom, and obviously, before they publish anything, they should send it to you just for you to review. But it's not so much to review the content, it's more in my case what I review is like they don't say anything that might be misleading, like maybe they say data that's not accurate or something like that, so you need to be a bit careful with that, because you don't want to make false claims. But at the same time, I think it's good to let them run wild and free.
So to help you visualize this, we actually have a sample campaign brief in the description below that you can download for free. And it also has some of Alex's other resources. The next step is creating the contract. And the first question that usually comes up is exclusivity. So for context, exclusivity clauses prevent the creator from working with any of your competitors. But the length of exclusivity can also increase the price and potentially turn off some of the creators. So here's how Alex handles it.
Us personally, we don't do exclusivity, not because of anything, but in my experience, when we have tried to push for exclusivity, it's like one of the things that creators like kind of back off a little bit, or like scares them a little bit. And I think it's because in their mind, it just like closes a lot of doors. If I say yes to these people, it means that I'm closing like 10 other doors. The reality is like, you don't need to put exclusivity in there, but if you work with one creator and it works well, if they like the tool, if the content performs well, they will stick with you, just because they already know you, they already work with you, you probably already like pay them well, because they keep coming back as well. So, that's why I don't really push for exclusivity. What we do push for, or what we ask for, is for usage rights in our case, just because we use a lot of the content that we create with creators for our paid media, because at Perspective we have like a really strong paid media arm. It has been and still is our main growth channel.
Now, exclusivity and media usage rights really depend on your goals. But here's something that Alex does recommend that every influencer marketer includes in their contracts.
Well, I would say that the main thing is like put clear delivery dates in the contract, It never happened to us that a creator has failed to deliver beyond the date. But if they did, I think you can always have a conversation and try to understand why it happened. But if they did and it doesn't work out, then you'll have like a strong basis of like maybe canceling the contract and be like, hey, then let's not do this piece of content. Let's refund the money or whatever.
I also found that this raises the question of payment terms. Do you pay them beforehand? Do you pay them after? How do you approach this?
So it really depends on the creator and kind of the vibe that they give you, So if you feel like they're like a trustworthy person, like for us, a lot of times we pay upfront. And, I think a lot of brands don't do that. And I totally get it, because you can always have like a bad experience with that. But in my case, if we pay upfront, it's because I see good trust signals from the creator, So we do that. Another thing that you can do is like pay 50-50, just pay 50% upon signature and then pay 50% up after the piece has been published. A lot of brands, they also do like they pay after the piece has been published, or even they pay like net 30 or net 60 even. But in those cases, I think it's not the best, because for me, I understand also the creator side, and you want to have the money in your account. You want to make sure that the brand is going to pay you, So if you don't want to do like full upfront, then at least do like 50-50.
Now, the final step of your influencer marketing campaign is setting up tracking to identify what's working and what isn't.
Tracking is one of the, I would say, most difficult things in influencer marketing, I would say, because obviously there is one part which is the direct tracking, right? So if you have a creator make a post and there is a call to action like comment whatever and I'll send you the link, and that link is like a trackable link, then you can know how many people came directly from the post, right? So that's an easy one. Like you can track, okay, we have this link on the post or on the YouTube video or whatever, and this amount of people came from it and this amount of people converted to customer from it. So that's easy, right? But the reality is that those are likely just going to be like 50% of the people that might have been impacted by the post, because the normal behavior that a lot of people make is like, okay, I'm reading this post about Perspective on LinkedIn, and instead of clicking the link for whatever reason, I just open a new tab and Google like Perspective. That's something that happens, right? Or they click on the company page and then they enter through that link, for example. That's another thing that might happen. For example, one thing that we try to to do to solve it internally is like we have what's called self-reported attribution, which is when someone onboards on our tool, we ask them a few questions about their business and whatever, and then there's one question that's like, where did you hear about us? And then it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, so that already gives you like, it's not like a direct signal, you cannot pinpoint it directly from the creator post, but if you know that in January you did like 15 posts on LinkedIn, and suddenly instead of having 20 people that come from LinkedIn on that month, you have 65, then you already know that, it's kind of working, right? So that's how we do it, like in some previous company, what we used to do is like, we know more or less what's the baseline of signups that we get every day. Let's say it's like 40, but if in that day we release like a huge YouTube video and the suddenly signups are like 75, then we can attribute that at least a big percentage of those 75 come from the creator post, right? The only thing that you need to make sure with that is that in that day there is no other special thing happening, there's no other campaign going out or there's no other post, so that's why I said it's a bit tricky, There is ways to try to figure it out, but I think if someone can tell you that they can 100% attribute influencer marketing, I think that's, at least from my knowledge, I think it's not possible, You can definitely get 70% there or 80% there, but it's always like a percentage that you have to estimate.
Now, if you enjoyed this video on creating a SaaS influencer campaign from scratch, you're also going to enjoy this video where Mark Richard breaks down the full step-by-step LinkedIn influencer marketing process that he used to turn $15,000 in spend into $2.5 million in pipeline.